All right, good evening, class. Welcome to week number 11 of 7314. It is me, your professor, Dr. Jace, and I know I say this all the time, but this video will be short. I'm not going trick-or-treating. I'm recording this on the night of October 31st, but I will not be trick-or-treating. That is not why this video will be short. This video will be short because some of my favorite topics are covered in this week's textbook readings, and especially for those of you who, so my thing is my library science education at the master's level was, I wouldn't say it was theoretical. I went to North Carolina Central University, which is an HBCU, historically black college, for those of you who don't know what that means, for my master's in library science. And I was, by the way, fun fact for you to remember, there is only one historically black college that offers an ALA accredited master's degree in library science, and that is North Carolina Central University. Clark Atlanta also used to have a program, but their program folded, I believe, either in the 1990s or in the early 2000s. So that only leaves North Carolina Central, but North Carolina Central has a reputation for not being a very theory-based school in any discipline. So if you want all the theory, you can go to Chapel Hill. And then if you want just more practical information, then Central may be your best bet if you are somebody who decides to move to the Triangle area of North Carolina and tries to pursue another degree. So hopefully you will complete your master's in library science with CISLD here at the University of Missouri. You made the best choice you could have possibly made. Don't go back on that choice. You are where you're supposed to be, and we thank you for it. So anyway, having said all that, with this book, I think that these chapters that you are assigned for this week are they have some of your best information in them. And so you're obviously not going to retain, like, yes, you do need to read these chapters. You're not going to retain all that information right now. But this is why actually I encourage you all to keep this particular textbook if you are going to go into any kind of public services. And even if you're not, the information in it, I think, will still pretty much be on point for the next few years. There's everything, of course, is going to be out of date at some point, but I think for the next few years, this guy here is going to be pretty good, and that's opposed to some other classes where, like I teach 7305, and some of you are in my 7305 class. I like the textbook for 7305, but I also, if I were a student, that book would not be one that I would necessarily keep. If I had the opportunity to sell it, then I probably would. But for this guy here, I do recommend holding on to it. This information may come in handy down the line. And again, you don't retain, well, I shouldn't say you don't. Some of you just may have photographic memories. But for the most part, people are not going to retain all the information in this book. So some of the things in the chapters that you're assigned to read this week, that'll be stuff that you probably want to come back to at different times. It'll be information that is useful in the future. Some other things that I want to mention now that I've lectured you on the book a little bit. As far as assignments, got my work cut out for me as far as getting some grading in, but we are going to get some grading in for the Wikipedia edits and for the virtual reference. And I am behind on my emails. I finally got caught up with emails from one side of my professional life, but getting back into the Mizzou/UMKC stuff, I've answered some of my UMKC stuff that was pressing for my day-to-day responsibilities at UMKC. But I do need to get caught up with the Missouri.edu emails, and I hope to do a little bit more of that tonight. I will always grade fair. That's what I want you all to always keep in mind, as I am, even if I am grading kind of sternly, I will be there. And so, for instance, one thing that came up with the Wikipedia edits was about somebody in the discussion forum needing more than one page in order to complete the assignment. And once I responded to that student, then several other students chimed in saying that they too needed more than that one page. And that's the type of feedback that I need, because as I modify, assignments get modified every semester. And as I modify these assignments, as I modify that particular assignment, I need to know that, hey, I actually made the requirement on the paper too short. So if your paper is longer than the one page, don't worry about it. I've just decided, based on feedback from 3 students, that I'm going to outright dismiss the page limit that I had on that assignment, so don't worry about that. And in the future, I will make it, I guess, a 3 to 5 page paper as opposed to a 1 page paper, and that'll probably serve my future students a lot better. So your feedback definitely helps those who come behind you. You are giving back when you give me feedback. Some quick things that two just quick things that I just want to mention in passing as far as the subject matter of this week's module. Number one, one thing that you'll be reading about are biographies and biographical sources. And the book does a very good job in discussing those. I am not going to rehash, but what I am going to say is that I do feel it's best practice to, and I would challenge some of you to just visit different library websites, different public library websites, different academic library websites. Sometimes you will see biography as its own category in database listings. If you go to databases by subject, sometimes you will see biography as its own subject, and sometimes you won't. I will admit I have not looked at any literature about this, but I think best practice is to have a biography section in your databases by subject, to make that one of these subjects, because biographies tend to be something that students and just the regular public, the general public, needs assistance with quite a bit. And there's so many biographical databases and sources that you can use. And then, yes, don't forget about using things like obituaries. If you have, I believe it's Family Quest, but they may have updated that name. In fact, let me pause this and just make sure. That's the beautiful thing about online classes. Hold on. And that's exactly why I need to look things up. I said Family Quest. The database is actually called Heritage Quest, not Family Quest. But that can be a useful source for some, not just for genealogical information, but also for some biographical information. Some libraries even have a library version of Ancestry.com. So genealogy sources they should go under your biography category, possibly, if you have one in your database listings. So I wanted to put that out there. And then the second thing that I just wanted to put out there really quick before I let you go, and we will be under 10 minutes, is unless you work in a law library or unless you are a lawyer, please make it clear, and this will probably happen to you at least at some point if you are a public services librarian, but people will ask you for legal advice and you don't want to give it. That's just a big no-no. I've been asked for it. I've had people, for instance, who wanted assistance with how to fill out a tax form, and that can actually be considered legal advice. I know that's really more accounting, but there are legal implications with filling out your tax return. And so when this patron came to me at the public library asking for assistance with that tax return, I didn't feel comfortable with it, and I told him that would fall under legal advice and I can't give it to you. He was really pissed off that I had to do what I had to do. But you can use your judgment. So at the same time that I tell you that story, I'll tell you a quick story. It'll be a little over 10 minutes, but not much. But let me tell you a quick story. Also, when I was working at the community college, I had a student who was using our library computers to fill out a job application, which is what we encouraged. Most of my community college students did not have internet access or computers at home. But this student, when filling out the job application, asked me a question about the job application. Just asked, hey, have you ever been convicted of any offense other than a minor traffic violation? And this student told me that she had been charged with an offense, but the case was dismissed. So that is also possibly legal advice, but I did feel comfortable answering that question. I told her that because the question asked specifically if she had been convicted, to go ahead and say no. The fact that she had been charged did not mean that she was convicted. And yes, that could possibly be legal advice, but I told her, if you weren't convicted, then they don't really need to hear about it. And they may be running a background check on you anyway, in which they'll find that out. But being charged and being convicted is not the same thing. And even if that falls under legal advice, I think it is okay for a librarian to say to a patron who is filling out a job application, if you were not convicted and it is asking specifically for convictions, then you don't have to put down that you were charged with something, but that the charge was dismissed. So it's a judgment call, and I understand that, but if you don't feel confident, then I would err on the side of caution. So that's all I am going to say there. We are still under 15 minutes, even if we're not under 10 minutes. Everyone have a wonderful day.